What's YouTube back with another video. In today's video, we're going over the best strategies that I used when I went for bioluminescent and well as borealis camos in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Zombies. And these are the tips that I have. First big one is this is going to take some time, so be prepared for a grind, man, because it's not going to be fast. I promise you. If you've done Interstellar and you know what you're doing for camo grinding, you probably are well aware that Zombies requires a way more time than Interstellar does, just for the pure fact is if you're doing both mastery camos, you have 2 mastery camos with uppers to over 70 guns to get done, because you have 36 in MW3 and then 51 in Modern Warfare 2. Now, my suggestions for if you're grinding for the camos is be prepared to have a lot of time in games spent. So, but what I mean by that is make sure you have food supply and stuff to drink if you're doing long gaming sessions. Make sure that's near you, because Zombies is a 45-minute game. You will be in there for a majority of that match. So you will be sitting down per match for 45 minutes. Okay? And some people say, well, that's all, bro, just, you don't have to drink, drink for that. Trust me, bro, when you're in a game match for 45 minutes, doing the same exact thing, man, you start to lose your mind a little bit. So being able to eat and drink and have all that stuff near you, and you don't have to go worry about going and getting it and dying or something while you run and get it. It's nice, okay? Also, have something to watch in the background. I did music, and I also did some YouTube videos. So I watched like Wendigoon. I did a lot of Hodge Twins, some Jinxie. I was listening to in the background. And when I was listening to those guys, I was listening to some metal music in my headset with the game audio muted. Because in this mode, you will not need game audio. You can have it 100% muted, and you will be A-okay. Trust. Now, with some of that stuff, that precautionary stuff done, let's get into what I recommend. So first off, if you are doing it, there's 2 separate ways you can go about this grind. One, you can be pre-done, pre-ready, and just start camos before you start the grind. So what I mean by that is you can go in here with max guns and have builds on everything ready to go. So all you have to do, say I'm running and I want to run the ACR, right? I can just go hit square on this, go to the ACR, hit it, and boom, I got builds ready to go for it, right? But the other way, and this will be the more time consuming, so this will take you almost double the amount of time that it would take you if you did the first strategy. This second strategy is going to be you have to level your guns up in Zombies. Now, leveling up guns in Zombies does take less time than multiplayer. I know some people are saying, oh, no, bro, it takes quicker on MP. No, it's not. It's not. Trust. As someone who got all my guns maxed out within the first week of the game launching, I have friends who play nothing but MP and who are only maxing out some guns right now, and they're still working others. I have proven the point that it is more than possible to do it in one single week in this game. Especially 36 guns. Not hard. The longest grind will be those snipers. That'll take you the most time. The rest of the guns you'll fly through, especially double weapon XP. Now, so let's say for the point of this video, you're going to do the grind where your guns are already max leveled. Okay? You want to make sure you're building your guns specifically in a specific way. So don't build your guns for mobility, because you're playing Zombies, and for the most part, your perks and your having a pack punch gun will do most of the mobility for you, right? Because you're doing more damage output. And then you have like stuff like stamina and stuff that will help you run faster. So you don't really need to worry about mobility. I would build them the same way you would build them on multiplayer, but instead of saying running a stock and a rear grip, run instead of a stock or run instead of a rear grip a magazine that's big. I recommend running the biggest mag on any gun that you're using. For example, if you're doing MW2 guns, the P90, if you run the biggest mag on that thing, is a 400 rounder mag. 400 rounds after pack punch. That is insane. That is on the same level as some of the LMGs when they have their 200 rounders. Again, also something to note: all guns are doubled when they're pack-a-punch. What I mean by that is all guns have double the magazine capacity when they're packed. It's a 50 round mag on the gun. Pack-a-punch will be 100. Except for assault rifles, I believe their entire category for both NW2 and 3 guns is 120. So it goes from 50, 40, 30, whatever to 120, I believe. There might be a few odd ones in and out, but that's for every category. There kind of has a couple oddities. Currently, the only guns that I've seen that get affected by pack-a-punch. So I know back in the old days, we used to have full auto guns, burst guns that get turned into full auto burst, semi burst, so on and so forth. This game, the only two I've ran into out of all 70 something guns that I've gotten mastery camos on is M16 turns into a full auto, but it has a high recoil, so be aware of that. Might want to pre-build your M16 to handle the recoil. Okay. Then the longbow sniper rifle turns into a 4 or 5 round burst. Keep that in mind. You can build it around that. Now that you got that idea down, let's figure out what categories to do first. What I would recommend when you're grinding the camos, focus on the largest categories first. What I mean by that, right, is if it's the LMG category, right, and it's got, say, 9 guns, right, don't do the 3 melee weapons or the 2 melee weapons instead of the LMGs, right? Do those LMGs first. That's going to take you the most time. Get them out the way and move on. For me, I was doing the bioluminescent challenge, so I was skipping categories. So what I would personally do is I did the ARs and SMGs first, because there's 15 ARs and 12 SMGs, which is like 90% of the grind for bioluminescent. Like once you have those two categories done, you're in the 30s, 40s already. So you're basically done bioluminescent. You just have to do, I think I did the LMGs, battle rifles, pistols, and knives. That's it. So I skipped like 2 giant categories, which were snipers and marksmen. Now, when you're working on these camo challenges, pick one mastery and do it at a time. Do not do 2 masteries at the same time, bro, because you will fucking hate your life, man. Because a lot of these challenges require different things. Some challenges require certain ammo mods, some certain effects. I would recommend not working on more than 2 guns at a single time. So, for example, I was working on assault rifles. I did 2 assault rifles at one time, right? Because I wanted to get done as quickly as possible. Don't try to do 6, 7 assault rifles at the same time, because every assault rifle has different base challenges. Unlike multiplayer, where its base challenges are all the same and the mastery challenges are different, on zombies it's the flip, or all mastery challenges are the same for every gun, but the default 4 base challenges are different for every single weapon, including every single weapon in that specific category. Now, if you are not worried about getting the mastery camo quick, maybe you're someone who's like, I'm going to work it over time, what I recommend doing is finishing those 3 story mission acts, okay? So Act 1, 2, and 3. The reasoning for this is because you get a lot of schematics from Tier 3, Acts 1, 2, and 3, that will then translate into getting items you need for future grinding. For example, you get a ton of the perks and ammo mods of the schematics from the acts, making your life 30 times easier. I personally skipped the acts, not realizing this until it was too late, and I had already accomplished my goals, right? And what this basically means is, if you need a gun that needs dead wire, then you can just schematic, and you can farm schematics. So, if you want to farm them today, and then tomorrow farm them again, and then the next day farm them again, and then say that the following day after that you want to use them, well, now you have 3, 4 schematics ready to go for you. Some other things to note: do not use wonder weapons, period, during this camo grind. I used them a little bit for if I was doing acts that didn't involve the boss fights or whatever, but do not use wonder weapons because they just are a waste of time, okay? Especially since they're 48-hour cooldowns. You don't get them a lot. Also, you will not need Shadow Blast for any guns in the entire game as far as I am concerned. I did both zombies masteries without using Shatter Blast a singular time, so you shouldn't need it as long as you don't do any of the snipers, marksmans for the launchers for MW2 guns. As for those, I cannot speak if you need them or not, because I have not done them. Now, some other things to note. You are going to need a lot of the uncommon, rare, and epic Aether tools, and a lot of the perks, the Pack-a-Punch crystals, which is raw, refined, and flawless. Okay? Something to keep note of is these all have very, very, very long, except for the green one, all these have very, very long cooldowns. Keep that in mind. I would recommend farming these. So again, if you are someone who's not rushing to get the camo, I would say wait a couple weeks. I would say farm the fuck out of these things, right? Get your entire stash full of like speed colas, Pack-a-Punch crystals, purple upgrade tools. If you have the tier 3 and 4 upgrades, then do those. Get them full. If you have wonder weapons, use them up, and keep the stash completely clean, and only use the stuff that you don't want. And again, stash everything else, like the perks that you want. Stay away from things like Elemental, okay? Stay away from it. It's just gonna cause you more annoyance down the road, man. Fuck Elemental, dude. I've used so little of Elemental in my grind. Other slight things to note. When you earn rewards from completing story missions, so the Acts 1, 2, and 3, right? You will get those items in reward sections. So they will be their own thing. They will not be attached to the stash. This is awesome as long as they stay in the rewards. Don't activate them or put them in your backpack unless you're going to use them, because then you have to put them back in your stash and you lose a stash slot. So like for one point I had 3-4 legendary tools, I had Pack 2 and 3 crystals in there, and that was all of my rewards, and I still have my stash left over. So keep that stuff in the rewards until you need it, right? Because once you pull it out, you can't put it back in the rewards section. Some other things to note. So decoys are no longer useful. They are super, super badly nerfed to the point where they only last for about 3.5 to 4 seconds. Which means they're not anywhere near as useful as they used to be. What I do recommend, on the other hand, though, is while you're camo grinding, run stims, because they give you health, which is nice if you're trying to do like strongholds. If you are just doing, like, say, for example, you're done the mastery camos up to the point of Zircon, not Zircon, I'm sorry, I can't think of its name, but the one that has the elite kills. I don't know why the fucking name of it's skipping my head. Then run things like the black hole grenade. I forget what it's called. I think it's like the I don't even know what it's fucking called, bro. I always call it the black hole grenade because it looks like a black hole when you throw it. And also the monkey bombs, because they are very useful for doing zombies, especially since one of the methods we're going to talk about in this video is going to require that to really be superior. Lethals. Now, there's a couple different options here, because depending on your playstyle, I should say. If you are someone who is going to be zooming around in the tier 1 or 2 strongholds, I recommend throwing knives, because throwing knives one-hit any tier zombie as long as it's not armored. So it'll one-shot dogs and tier 1, like basic zombies, which is nice. So you don't have to, and you can spam them too, because if you're real close to them, you instantly pick it up. On the other hand, Breacher drones are really good too. Breacher drones are really, really, really strong right now. They're actually talking on Twitter about maybe nerfing these, because they're super, super strong at the current moment for zombies and MP. If you haven't already taken notice, if you play MP. So I would recommend running Breacher drones. If you're trying to get away from a horde of zombies, flick around, throw it. And make sure you have PhD on, because the blast radius is quite large. And yeah, it's a solid option. As well as C4, as well as the thermites and molotovs are also really good options as well. Field upgrades, you use whatever field upgrade you feel is best. For me, for when I was doing challenges that involved getting kills while after using upgrade, I use Frenzied, because Frenzied lasts the longest. I learned my lesson from the first grind, which is Borealis. Because during Borealis, I mean, if you remember from that video I made then, I was using Aether. That's a mistake. because Aether is really, really tricky because it doesn't last long when you shoot. On the other hand, Frenzied doesn't get affected if you're shooting zombies or not. So I recommend Frenzied for that. But otherwise, unless it tells you otherwise, which I don't think it will, I would recommend using Energy because Energy is just really safe to have if you're in a tight spot. It's really good for strongholds because it also destroys the assists too. So if you're in a corner and you're trapped or there's assists and you want to get those, it can destroy those too. Obviously, you could use Aether or Frost or Tesla if you wanted to as well, or Aether or Healing. Sorry. Now, should you have multiple characters? It's something that people have asked me when I was talking about this grind. I would recommend you have some spare characters ready. So I did this back during Borealis. That's why these characters have not been touched since like the first, second week of the game launch. Get these other two characters geared, but focus on one specific character. These other two characters, I call them backups. So if I had, I died in the next game and I don't want to bring this specific character in, I just swap my other character, go to my tombstone, and grab my shit. But obviously, I would stick to one operator. It just makes your life easier. To be honest with you. Now there's so much information here, guys. So let me stop yapping for 5 seconds and explain some of the actual methods that I used in this grind. Now, this grind method that I have works best solo. I have not played with this method too much with other people. I'm one of those guys that like to do my grinding solo because I like to blast music or watch videos, and I'm not really social, so I didn't stream this grind as much as I wanted to originally, just because I'm just not enjoyable to watch while grinding, because I'm very, I turn my brain off, and I do something else while I'm grinding. So, this grind will have two parts to it. The mastery part of it will be one, and then the base camo challenges will be separate. So we'll start the base challenges first. So first off, some of the contracts that you're going to be wanting to run a lot. If you have pack crystals, run escorts as soon as you get in the game. Escorts give you the most zombies of any of the contracts, and that's just a fact. I know some people like to say spores is the best contract, but in actuality, a lot of the challenges want you to get kills rapidly in some form. So kills holding trigger, kills not getting hit, or they want you to get a shit ton of kills with this one specific attachment. So like, let's say you need to get 100 kills while affected by tacticals. It's gonna be way easier in an escort because you can just toss it where the zombies all spawn in when the escort starts its extraction shit. Toss it there, wait a few seconds, then shoot all the zombies as they look at it, right? And you're going to want decoys for that, especially. That is the only time you're going to want to run decoys, is for that. But again, it doesn't last long, so I don't really know what the best option will be for you now, because, again, they nerfed this after I finished all my challenges that required that. If you are someone who still doesn't have a lot of pack punch crystals and is still kind of playing the game normally, then the best strategy would be to spawn in and do a couple of the, I'm trying to think of the name, the cell missions. Pretty much is basically what it is you take the truck with supplies to the drop-off location, the delivery, that's the word I'm looking for, delivery contracts, do a couple of those, 2 of those, and you kill the zombies both times with the truck. You'll have enough extra money to pack. Once you pack one gun, immediately begin working on the camos, but also begin working on contracts for money for the next gun, because if you're doing 2 guns a game, you're going to want both of them packed. Do not go into tier 2. This grind is completely usable in tier 1 unless you need to go into tier 2 for the guns that need medium threat kills. In that cases, I would say recommend holding on to those tier 2 packs and those purple wrenches. And that's why I said about farming them, so that when you use those guns, slap those bitches on, run into tier 2, do what you need to do, and you get the fuck out. Okay? Super, super easy. For bot kills, I'd recommend you go to the 2 main contracts, which is the I forget the name of the contracts. The name of the contracts suck, bro. You'll learn these as you go through, bro, but they're basically like the rockets. Those are really, really good for bots. But the one I found the best for is basically the earthquake contract. You have to like go activate the 3 earthquake machines, and then like you protect the one singular computer because that spawns a shit ton of enemies. Usually you can do one of those contracts and one mercenary stronghold, and that will usually be your 50 for the most part. For armor kills, do strongholds for both tier 1 and 2. They give a ton of armor. If you're doing armor kills on zombies, do not go to exfils because they're very, very, very inconsistent. Same for roaming zombies, very, very inconsistent. So those you may want to go into tier 2 because I know tier 2 has a ton of armor zombies running around. And usually I can do one sweep around in the city part of tier 2 and I'll have enough armored. Now, for the other types of challenges, again, recommend escorts. Pretty much anything can be done on escorts. There's even armor zombies in escorts. They're very, very, very low amounts, but that's an option too. Tier 2 escorts, and I think it's the Outlast on tier 1 have a ton of dogs, so there's a good way to get dogs as well. Okay. Now, let's move on to the second part for the masteries. Pack-a-Punch mastery challenges suck. Okay, it is what it is. There's nothing you can do. You gotta just power through the suffering that is playing a ton of matches and just playing a certain way. Okay. Best method, again, is to farm those crystals. Make sure you have a ton of those crystals saved up. Now, there's actually a very interesting strategy that I figured out with this part of the grind that I didn't do with the first grind, with Bioluminescent versus Borealis. Borealis, I had enough crystals saved. But since I believe they nerfed the strongholds because they don't feel as good in tier 1 as they used to, I had to resort to getting one Pack-a-Punch gun off rip and working towards another Pack-a-Punch gun. So I could do 2 a game minimum. Okay. While you're grinding for that second Pack-a-Punch gun, what I like to do was hit other strongholds and do contracts. Bounty contracts in tier 1 do give Pack-a-Punch crystals quite often. Pretty much every 2 or 3 contracts after every so many games would give me it. So like if I got a Pack-a-Punch crystal, I would do like say I didn't do another bounty contract that match, I do another match, and I do another 2 bounty contracts. I usually, and at some point in there, I would have another Pack-a-Punch crystal. When you're doing these grinds, right, do keep in mind that they are going to require a lot of kills. Okay, for example, Bioluminescent requires right around 16,000 kills. Okay, give or take. I believe Borealis was around 14,000, 12,000 kills. It's a little bit less because obviously it's got like 20-something guns less. Now, for the Golden Challenge, I know I skipped it, but that's really simple. Just play the game normally. When you're doing the 4 base camos, if you get the 250, if you do all 4 camo challenges in a basic in the same match with that gun, you will have your 100 kills because it is counted the minute you start tracking the 250 kill challenge, the first challenge. So as long as you get those 250 kills in that game and you get the other 3 challenges done, you're set. You have gold. Just exfil with that gun. Now, for the hardest challenge, I think the most time-consuming challenge, depending on who you are as a player, will be the elite kills, the special kills. Now, there is a distinction between the two. I would recommend doing specials for all your grind. Okay? Elites are contract-based bosses. Basically, your bounties. That's what they are. Elites are bounties, and that's literally the only reason they're called elites is because they have a name instead of just being called the Mangler. The Mangler might be called Dickwad. We'll call him that. We'll call him Dickwad. Basically, that's the only difference. They have a name. And they have way more health than the normal bosses. So I recommend doing the specials because specials are the ones that just spawn randomly. So like Stronghold Mimics are specials. If you're exfilling, the Manglers there are specials, and the Mimics that find running around or something, those will all be specials. Okay, if it doesn't have a name, it's a special. Recommend it because they have less health, and there's usually more of those available to you. Now for that grind specifically, what I recommend is you running exfils. And this is where those monkey bombs I was talking about earlier and those black hole grenades come in useful. Because by the time you're done at this part of the grind, kills don't matter to you. Alright? Once you get to that elite special kill challenge for the mastery camo, you're done kills. Once you get those elites, those guns are done. You're never touching them again until after the mastery camo is earned. So what I recommend is keeping a ton of those monkey bombs on your character at all times. You'll find a lot of them when you're killing manglers. If you want to get consistent monkey bomb drops, all you have to do is destroy the mangler's arm before he hits something with it. Okay. Same for free perks. They drop free perks. I think it's every 3 or so manglers I was getting a free perk, as long as those arms are being destroyed before they hit me with it. But that's pretty much the ultra method for this grind currently, and I'm sure it'll change down the road eventually. But to be quite frank, down that point, I won't care because I've already in the camo. So, one or two DLC guns won't be really a problem, to be honest. But that's pretty much my guide, man. I know this isn't the most amazing guide compared to like other YouTubers, but this is from my personal perspective of what I did, and this worked the best for me. And there's obviously some things you could do differently. Maybe you could go into tier 2 and get your elites there. Or you could go do your tier 2 contracts and maybe get your guns a tad bit done quicker. But honestly, I don't know if it's worth the stress of constantly being worried about dying, because tier 1 is pretty hard to die. Most of my deaths on my account are when I was in tier 2 or 3. Majority of the time, there's a couple times in tier 1 where I didn't have a self and I randomly died in a stronghold, but for the most part, most of my deaths were in tier 2 and 3, and I just don't feel like it's worth the worriness to go into those tiers for camos, to be honest. If you're playing with a friend, this whole guide is going to be different for you if you're playing with a friend. The only reason I didn't like to play the friend, because it kind of, it's going to sound kind of dicky, but I wanted all the kills for myself. I didn't want to give anything to anyone when I was playing. That was me just trying to be as efficient as possible, because obviously if you give kills to someone, that's taking away from your efficiency, because now they're taking those kills for themselves. So keep that in mind. One pro tip if you're leveling up guns: if you and a teammate both shoot the same zombie, you both get XP for the kill. All right, so you can do that too. You guys can farm off each other. But yeah, man, that's pretty much it in this video, man. I know it's kind of all over the place with the tips, but I hope this guide helps you guys a little bit. I do plan to be streaming later today. And yeah, I hope you guys will stop by. And we're on that nuke grind now. And the Ultra Mastery grind. I'm not ready. I'm not ready at all.